to Aligned and Thriving for Teachers, the podcast written by a teacher for teachers and educators just like you. I'm Mel. I'm a mum and a teacher juggling laundry, lesson plans, and life. Let's do this.
This is pretty much my introduction. So for those of you who don't know me, I've been teaching for over 15 years. Safe to say I'm in the category of reasonably experienced teacher. I've gone from almost every context of teaching imaginable. I've taught in every department within our country. I've taught in different areas, different socioeconomic places, just a lot of range of experience. I've taught different grades from kinder through to grade 8. I have to say sorry though, I haven't really taught the higher end. I've done relief in that space, so I'm going to say it counts a little bit. So I've got experience and I've got lots to share. And I'm one of those people, as I said, I like to talk and I like to share things. I'm honest and I'm blunt. And sometimes I think that I can sort of come across as just a little bit rude. And I don't mean to. I'm Dutch, okay? That's a well-known fact about me. It can also be a fact that Dutch people can be really stubborn and blunt and just plain honest. So you can imagine me growing up, short little rant. But if you wanted an honest opinion of what you were wearing, you could just go ask my dad, who is full blood Dutch, and he will seriously tell you, oh no, that looks terrible. Or, oh, I thought that dress was green. That's not your color. So I may have inherited just a few of those skills. I also inherited, obviously, lots of my mum's skills. My mum is also a teacher with a lot of experience and someone who's retired, I don't know, 3 times? I've sort of lost count. She's still working. And I love my mum, but she is one of those teachers that has so much passion and so much heart that she really just can't leave the profession. Like, I honestly think it's a challenge. She finds that love and just wants to support whenever she gets those phone calls for relief, which is great. But again, we're talking about me, not my parents. So this is me. I wanted to start this podcast because I wanted an opportunity to share with you guys some thoughts, some feelings, and if I could just help one more teacher out there figure this stuff out, then this would all be worth it. In my spare time, not that we have much, being I'm a teacher and a mum, we could say in those, 12 weeks of holidays that we supposedly get and the weekends that I also supposedly spend at home doing nothing, I've actually been recording these podcasts and in the process of also writing a book to support this work. So that's coming. But lots of information from this podcast is going to be reinforced within that space. So eventually it will be linked when that's finished. And I hope that I can help some more people that way as well. All right. So basically, I thought this first episode could just be a bit of an introduction and thinking about my history. Look, growing up, where it all began, I never dreamed that I was actually going to be a teacher. Nope. I hated the idea. I grew up in a family where my grandmother was a teacher, my mum was a teacher, and I was not going to be a teacher. I wanted to be in business. I was that little kid that set up the little shops. I would play. I loved it. I just wanted to be in charge of people and tell them what to do. And I'm pretty sure I produced a daughter that's very similar. So anyway, I wanted to be someone who worked in human resource management. It sounded fancy. My dad did business. He did a Bachelor of Commerce, and I wanted to sort of do what he did. I didn't want to be like mum, and I know that sounds horrible, but yeah, I love my mum, and things have obviously changed. But that was my dream at the time, and I wanted to work in an office. I wanted to have the fancy office clothes. I wanted to have my own desk. I wanted to have all the pretty stationery. I wanted to have money, really. That's what I wanted. And in our family, we work hard. So basically, I just thought that's the job you get. You work hard, you earn a good salary. That's just the way it was and the way it always has been. I have an older brother. He's 10 years older than me. So obviously, I learned a lot from what he did, and he went and did Bachelor of Computing. He got a job straight away, and he was working. He was living on his own. Like, he was doing all of the things. So I was like, yes, I'm going to do that. That was where my heart was set. But obviously, then I started looking into university, and I looked at the course for human resources. I realized how boring it actually was. No offense to those people that actually do that job and do that well, but I didn't. When I learned about what it actually did, I didn't want to hire and fire people. I didn't want to break someone's heart. I don't think I could do that. And I did some work experience too in grade 10 and realized that was not the job for me. I am a people pleaser and this was not going to work. So I was sort of umming and ahhing. I had applied for that, and obviously my second choice was education because I just thought, oh, it's a backup. And I was in town with my mum and dad shopping actually, and one of dad's friends came over and, oh, you're going to go to uni soon? I'm like, yep, I'm going to do education. And I just looked at this guy. I looked at my mum. I looked at my dad and went, oh, okay, I'm doing education. Yep. So it was just one of those things there. It just fell out of my mouth. And I thought, okay. And as I talked to my mum about it, I said, oh, she said, it's changed. It's changed since I started, and you don't have to be like me. And I thought, oh, I guess she could help me. So, look, I started my Bachelor of Education and I never looked back. It was probably the best thing I ever did. It got me going. I wanted to help people, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to help people in business like I was going to try. Like, I don't know, I'd be more successful in education. And I was good with kids, and I knew that. So as I went through uni, I obviously got lots of relief. I taught in schools. I got lots of experience. I was a TA. I was a personal assistant to a literacy instructor. I got a lot of things. I watched people for years. I watched my mum do work. I got lots of experience in that industry. So that was great before I graduated, and I got a job pretty well straight away. So from there, I worked a number of years in the private system. I taught grade 5, 6s because I trained in upper primary. I was probably the only one out of all of my friends that are teachers that trained in upper primary because they were obviously intimidated by the older kids, whereas I'm intimidated by younger children. Like, they scared me, and I was not going to be an early childhood teacher because in my head, I just thought all they did was wipe bottoms. I know now that's not what it actually entails. But at the time, I was like, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm going to teach big kids because at least they know what they're doing and I won't be tying shoelaces all day. That ain't for me. So I did that, and I taught some 5, 6s, some 4, 5s. It was amazing. And then I got thrown a bit of a curve ball. I had to take a prep class. I didn't have much say in the matter at the time from the principal, but she was saying, oh, it's a great experience. You'll learn so much from it. You just need to give it a go. So obviously I did, because when you don't have a choice, it's like do that or don't have a job. It was great. And I actually learned a lot. I became probably a better teacher for it because I had the experience from both ends and I could sort of see where kids were coming from. So I understood a bit more. So that was great. But then that next year I was thrown like a prep one. That's fine. I was going to take that challenge. But I actually got pregnant. So, surprise, we got pregnant with twins. So that really took a toll on me and my body. And I physically was not capable. Like, I taught all of term one on my class, but after that, I wasn't cleared to stay on class, if that makes sense. Like, the doctor put me on high risk duty. So I was sort of being I was being watched. So after the holidays, when I came back, I was on light duties. So then I was pulled off class. And I sort of did literacy support and other types of support within that space. But that was a chance where my principal said, well, now you've got a minute to do your full registration. So if you ever go into leadership, you've got that to back you. I thought, oh, okay, let's do that. So I did that. So I took that time before I went on maternity leave. I finished it. I got my full registration, which was awesome because I didn't know where I was really heading in the future, but at least the option was there to go into leadership if I wanted to. So I did that, and that was awesome. I then went back to work towards the end of that year. I did some relief, sort of just to help out the school and stuff. And then the next year I was going to go back, and I did go back for 2 days a week. And then that sort of increased because you sort of start doing relief and things like that. But I felt like there was a lot of judgment from other teachers, parents, other staff members. I can remember sitting in the staff room one day when I was working, and I think I must have worked for 4 days that week. And the kids were obviously in care at the time. So they were being looked after, and I was spending every minute outside of my working hours with them. But I had two babies, so I had twins. There's twice the amount. I don't know any different. I've only had the two, and I had them at once. So for me, twins is like just normal. Um, so that was fine, and we were coping. But I just remember one day sitting in the staff room, and there was a male staff member at the time who made a comment to me, and that really, I've never forgotten it. And he was like, "Well, where are your children?" I said, "Oh, they're at childcare. Um, I have to work. My husband's not fully qualified yet at the time. He was still doing his trade. And I was pretty much the breadwinner. So if I went to work, we'd earn more money and we were trying to pay a house off like everyone else in the world. And yeah, we were going to do what worked for our family and setting ourselves up for our future. And he was like, "Nope, that's not good enough. You shouldn't be doing that. My wife didn't work. She stayed home with the children because that's what women do." And I just thought, no, that's not okay. But I didn't have a voice. I was just broken. So I just sort of left it and just sat there and went, "Oh, okay." But I think that really hurt. And when I went home and sort of explained it to my husband, he's like, "It's no one else's business. It's what we do is our choice." And I grew up like he grew up in a family with a mum that stayed home, but I grew up in a family where my mum went back to work when I was about 12 weeks old because she was the breadwinner and that's how it worked. But I don't know any different and I've never felt so loved. Like my mum went out of her way to make the time that she wasn't at work time about us. So we didn't really know the difference. And as a teacher, you get school holidays, so you get that time back with your kids. So between my husband and I, we always make the most of our holidays and our breaks and spend it with our children. And that's how we do it. And my kids wouldn't tell you any otherwise. Like sorry, that didn't really. I can't English well sometimes. Um, they wouldn't tell you any different. Like they have appreciated everything that we have done, and we focus on them when it is our break time. So that's the way we do it. So if you are a working mum, I am with you and I see you and I am that mum too. So that's that part. So obviously, as I said, I went back to work. Um, and at the end of that year, I decided that I was going to do something different and sort of change schools because I'd been in that school for nearly 10 years. So I thought I was going to have a change. So I applied for other jobs because I was trying to aim for leadership. But I did get a position at another school in the Catholic system. So I left my job, but that meant I actually had to go back full time because that was the only thing that they were offering at the time. So I went back to work full time when the kids were nearly two. So I did that and I had a great experience that year. I did lots of PL around leadership. It was working out fine, but then like my husband got a job in a different area, so we sort of had to move. So I applied for another job and I actually got a leadership position, which was amazing. And I worked with a really great team and I was loving my job. I was actually like a literacy coach. So I was helping teachers with their literacy planning and all of that sort of thing. And I love that because I'm such an organized person and I love data. Not many people do, but I do. So I was doing all the data interpretation and helping teachers with that. And it was an awesome year. But then, of course, again, my wonderful husband took a job in another area and we actually had to move. So then I sort of went to a really low socioeconomic area. And at that point, it was a really rough school. So I did get a job straight away as a teacher, but I had pretty much 3 years from hell. There was probably not a day where I wasn't hit, kicked, punched, bitten, sworn at, had my stuff broken. It was just really, really rough. So I had a prep class at the time thinking that that would be okay. Nope, year from hell. But I had a really supportive leadership team. And I think that really helps you to get through those times when you have that support around you. The next year, though, I had another class that was okay. But then the year after that, I went to a 5-6 class and thought, yep, cool, I can do this. I can manage this. And I was doing okay. Um, but yeah, it was really hard. We had a changeover, excuse me, in leadership at that point. And then that sort of, I don't know how you say, let the team down. That got really hard. And then that got me thinking, if I want to fix things, I'm going to need to be in a different position to do that. So I started looking for other leadership positions at the time in the area that I was working. And I actually managed to get one. So I made a threat to my grade five, sixes and sort of told my grade sixes, oh, if you don't behave yourselves and we don't sort ourselves out by the end of the year, I'm going to follow you to high school. Like, I'm going to come. And they're like, no, no, you can't do that. I actually already knew at this point that I'd won a position at the high school to be in charge of the grade sevens. So I actually did follow that cohort. And when I turned up on their first day and was like, hi, guys, they actually were really thrilled. And it was great. So I had a couple of years at the high school then. So I had experience from both ends of the scale. So it was awesome. I got lots of, as I said, lots of experience. And I mean, how do you get experience without getting experience? Because that's a thing. I'm actually going to do a bit of a talk about that, not in today's introduction, but further down the track, if that makes sense. But yeah, so then went to high school and had a couple of years experience in that space. I did lots around leadership, lots around developing myself at that point, and that was COVID. So I actually taught through COVID during that time. I'm going to need to do a podcast around that because if you've forgotten COVID, like that happened, and we had to wear face masks, and I had to teach students with a face mask, and I've never actually found like so many ways you can actually utilize a face mask to do things that you shouldn't be doing when you're in high school. It's amazing. I learnt a lot in that space. I also got COVID. And that was probably the worst 7 days of my life, being in isolation in our garage, being isolated from my family, my children, and actually being alone. And I don't like that feeling. And I don't want to have to go through that again. But that's another thing to talk about. Yeah, so I had that experience. And then I love my husband. Let me communicate that. Surprise, he got offered another job. So we were moving again. This time I sort of said, let's be done with this whole moving thing because I want to be able to get a job and settle in it. But yeah, we were moving back to where we were originally from. So that was awesome. We everything just sort of lined up. I applied for jobs. I got another dream job situation with a great school, a smaller school, but doing what I used to do. So literacy coach work and what we call AST. So advanced skills teacher level. And I got a job at a smaller school in a really nice area. And it would be the first time that I actually teach in the same space as my kids. So the last few years and the whole years of their schooling, I should say, I'd managed to avoid teaching where the kids were. But I sort of had no option because we couldn't get the kids to the school we're zoned for. So they're going to have to go to school with me. So this was going to be a whole new learning curve. So I've now sort of crossed that bridge of I've been the teacher that has kids to the teacher of the kids at the same school. So those are the teachers' kids. But all the teachers that had kids, they all had their kids there too. So it wasn't like they were the only ones. And we just made things work. So yeah, so that's sort of my journey as a teacher, sort of going. I've, as I said, experience from prep through to grade eight. I've now also had experience in kinder because I've done lots of relief being a smaller school. So I've had to do lots of everything. I've become very versatile. Like I've taught art, I've taught music, I've taught PE, I have taught a lot of things. I'm not afraid to just walk in and have to teach a class and pick up the slack if someone has to go home. I've learnt that I have to be flexible, and been a big thing for me because I'm not a flexible person. I've had to learn. Or you can just ask my husband because if he comes home and is like, "Yeah, we're going to go for a drive," like, no, no, I've got to do all of these things. I'm not spontaneous. I require prior warning and planning for these things to occur. But yes, but that's basically me. That's my journey. That's my teacher timeline. So it sort of goes like that. I've been through a lot. I'm here at the coalface. So I've been there and I've probably done that. So don't come at me. If you're just thinking I'm this sort of person who's writing this wellness sort of stuff, and no, I'm not. I've been there. I've done all the angles. I've done this. I've basically been that person. So let me talk. Let yourself give yourself a chance to actually listen. You can take my advice or you don't have to listen to me. Like that's your choice. You don't have to do what I say. And I'd say that I say that like you're a kid in my class. That's different. Like you don't have to do what I say, but I don't know. I'm telling you because I know what I'm talking about. I've experienced it. I want you to be able to listen and learn from my failures, from my experiences, and my big ass mistakes. Okay. And just like my family, like you don't have to work past 5 o'clock at night. There's a cutoff. Like turn off your brain, turn off your phone if you have to. When you get home, if you need to sit down and watch TikTok for an hour to decompress, sometimes you just need that. And I know I need that too. Like, look, I just sit there thinking, I've got so much to say, I need to say it. So this is my sort of debrief. So I just think I could do a podcast about being a teacher mum. I've never taught. Yeah, I just wanted to teach the teachers. Does that make sense? I get you, and I've got you. Um, yeah, so I just thought that would be a bit of an introduction and explain that that's me. But look, if you are ready to learn a bit more about your teaching self and learn that teaching is a job that you are doing for the reward of the kids. Okay, so you don't do it for the money because you'll never be paid for your actual worth. Let me make that clear. Get that completely through your head. You will never be paid for the amount of work that you actually do. You will be paid in the difference that you make. Okay, you will be paid in the difference that you make. So you will see that in your kids. And unless you are passionate about children and helping them to succeed, this is not the job for you. If you're doing this job to earn a 6-figure income and not be affected by the cost of living, like I am too, this job is good, the pay is good, and it is a solid income that we can rely on because you're going to get a job as a teacher. If you're decent, you'll get relief too. But if you are not passionate about it, and or maybe you're a teacher that maybe lost the spark, then we need to help you fight to get your spark back or to find something that you can love about this job again. Because this job is hard, okay? I get it. I'm there too. Parents are hard. Admin work is hard. Just being a teacher and having a life is hard. I get that. I'm on the same page as you. I've been there, I'm still there, and I'm still learning. And I could be better. I could probably do better. But you need to do things that work for you too. So, what I'm going to be is that person that is here to try and help guide you, to help you find your spark back for teaching, to maybe give you some things to think about, to maybe help you with some strategies that might support you in your teaching journey, and to just give you some real truth about what it's like to be a teacher in today's society. Because I just want to have something to share with you and debrief with you all. And if I get to help someone in the process, like that is what I am here for. I am here to help you. So that's my little introduction. Again, I'm Mel. This is Aligned and Thriving for Teachers, the podcast where we are here to talk all things teaching and your mindset just to help you out. So until the next episode, where I try and help you with a few more things, I hope you have a wonderful day, week, whatever it might be, and let's go do this.